I wanna kill, I wanna destroy, I wanna use my energy to fill the void. I shall travel through time to the depths of the mind, power my dreams with destiny divine.
Out!
Penalty offsides.
And we're back with the post-opening weekend recap here. We had our picks. We made our picks. That went public. And now we're here to look at the results of those picks after round one of Major League Rugby. My man, Chad, of course. UCLA. What's the name of the stadium again? I can't even.
Wallace Annenberg.
You were there. How was the crowd? How was the crowd?
Crowd was pretty good. The stadium is the first time I've ever been to the stadium. It's a lot smaller than the previous stadiums, but it's way more cozier, right? And I think as long as we can just continue to get more people there and then we'll outgrow it, then we have our next step. But as far as the stadium go, you're right on the pitch. There is no track or anything like that. Yeah. You're right there, dude. You ain't getting that in any other sports, bro.
So unfortunately, it looked like MLR did fail to do what they have a real bad problem with. Sometimes they film from the wrong side of the pitch. So it looked like one side was pretty barren, but camera would see that most of the crowd was sitting on one side of the stadium.
Yes.
It's so, I mean, did it look like, at least on your side, because we weren't really getting a view from it on television. It was just all the field and you'd see kind of the empty opposite side. How full was the side you were sitting on?
I'd say like 60%.
Okay, that's good. Yeah. I mean, that's not bad at all. So we're going to go ahead and start off with game one of this weekend. And I'm going to, before the video even starts upload, I'll let you know there are going to be clips in the intro to the video so people will be able to see what you saw. Game one. We started out in sunny South Florida as DC heads to Miami. I picked Miami to get the win, and this one was... I'm talking shit via text with you because I had stepped out, and like Miami had run up a pretty big fucking lead in this one, and then you didn't say anything, and then I get back home and find out that DC won at the death with like a chip kick. Center grabs it, knocks it down past the 80th minute. So they get the come from behind victory over Miami. What did you think? I mean, the first half, we had a couple of cards early on in the game. And then, once the momentum kind of shifted, you kind of saw it. What did you think overall of that first match?
Yeah, you know what? When the games first started, I was looking at the results and I was like, man, I don't know if I made the right pick, but I had this feeling that, Old Glory were going to come back. And I think they're going to be a force to be reckoned with this year. I thought the game was good. Hey, I mean, all these games, dude, this is first games are going to be kind of a little bit clunky. But I thought overall it was great. I mean, you can't ask for more than at the last minute try that seals the deal,
Yeah, it's Thomas Cubelli, obviously the veteran there. You guys have one there as well in LA, but the teams looked rusty. They had an injury early on in the front row with Miami. So Alex Tucci, the former Warrior, the former Jackal, and now Miami player, he came in at like the 5th or 6th or 7th minute and played the entire game. And this is a guy that didn't play at all last year. He's recovering from an injury and held his own. Like I said, it wasn't the prettiest game, but it was, for the half that I watched live and then I went back and watched the second half later, it got to be a lot more entertaining in that second half when you saw DC kind of steal the momentum and kind of make a comeback in the game. The next game on tap was a game I turned off at halftime. It was so bad. You had the NOLA Gold welcoming the winless Anthem of Carolina. And I mean, this thing, it was 28-0 at halftime. Anthem looked rough. they've got some solid guys there. They've just got some really undersized flankers, and like it's just they're kind of just you feel like it's a spare parts team.
Yeah,
And
I understand.
on
Yeah.
paper, it looks like that. I mean, Sam Gola was back. He did start. He had some decent, but they had like line out issues, and it was just you could just tell Nola was ready. Nola came into the game. They had all their screws on tight. They were ready to go, and it looked like Anthem was just trying to feel their way through it. And by the time the Anthem got anything really going, it was too late in the game to make any difference. Did you didn't catch any of that game yet?
I've not got a chance to catch that one. Any highlights or anything like that at all? Not
Just
that game yet. Yeah.
watch through the first 40 and the game's pretty much over after that. I do have to comment.
Yeah.
We didn't get to see a lot of these sponsor jerseys when they announced who the sponsors were on these jerseys.
Yeah.
And Carolina's sponsor shocked me quite a bit.
What is it? I didn't see it.
You would never guess in a million years.
Tinder.
It's Dr. Pepper.
Nice.
I'm like, Dr. Pepper should be a Texas team because that's a Texas beverage. My wife saw the jersey. She wants one, so I reached out to one of the players, Jason Tidwell's dad, and said, hey, if they get those on sale, let me know because I'll pick her up one just because she's a Dr. Pepper-aholic.
Yes.
And, that was a pretty big shocker as far as a sponsor. I was like, Dr. Pepper, of all things, being that it's Carolina, I didn't really think Dr. Pepper would be the marquee sponsor for the team, but I mean, it's a big sponsor. That's
pretty cool, man.
Yeah, that's like having Coca-Cola, not quite Coca-Cola or Pepsi, but I mean, it's up there. So
that's a name brand that people are going to recognize. Yeah.
Now, the game I was looking forward to the most, obviously, now that I live in Texas, so it was Houston welcoming Chicago. I picked Houston to absolutely blow Chicago out of the fucking water in this one. This was nasty, man. Houston looked fucking bad through 50 minutes of this game. Even at half, they had the lead at halftime. It was 17-12 at half. Chicago still had more meters, more possession, more everything. So it was like Houston was never really even in the game. It was a great crowd at Aviva. I mean, I remember texting you, hey, what's the temperature at your game? And you said it was like 66 Fahrenheit, I think.
Yes.
It was about the same in Houston, and you could see people in the stands wearing like big jackets at 66 degrees. Take in mind, we have a cold front coming through this week. It's supposed to get down to, I believe, 20 Fahrenheit in Houston.
Ooh.
Dude, they're like going to shut the city down. Like they're not set up for cold weather. Houston is not set up for cold weather. So, this one, it was entertaining until the second half when Houston didn't score another point until the last minute and a half of the game. Like it was not. The score is not indicative of how one-sided it was. Chicago came out. They lost their fly half pretty early on. Adrian Carlson came in. He had some kicking issues last year. He did really well yesterday. Obviously, I'm good friends with Adrian. Had his here. Did an interview with him and everything. And
I remember that. Yeah,
I was happy for the guy. The presentation was okay. Like it wasn't bad. Like some of the sideline interviews with like fans and stuff were a bit like much, but it's Houston. They have their own vibe down there. It's kind of like NOLA. It's kind of a very unique place that if you've never been there, it's kind of hard to explain, but
I gotta go.
Really disappointed in the SaberCats. They really looked poor. Like, and I don't even think even if they had AJ Alatimu at 10, it would have made a difference. I think they were just they did not look good at all, period. Horrible at lineouts, horrible at scrums, just really bad issues. And like you can understand any first game of the season, you're gonna be rusty for 20 or 30 minutes. They never got the rust off in that game, the entire game. Like they just looked rusty the whole time. So a bit disappointing with that result, but good on for Chicago, a good way for them to start out new season, new head coach, and hopefully they can continue some momentum going forward. Now, what's that? I picked Houston. You picked Chicago.
Oh, okay. I want to make sure we're right there.
Yeah. Now for the game of the week for you, where I will shut the fuck up and let you talk for a bit. Tell us, man. Tell us how it went, man. How did you feel about the home opener for RFC LA?
So I've seen the rugby teams here in LA and a couple different places. I saw them at the Coliseum. I saw them at Dignity Sports Park, whatever. I saw them at the stadium next to it. I've seen them in a couple various places. This stadium it's on UCLA's campus. So when I parked, and I've lived here for 20 some years. I don't really ever go over there. I parked, and then you go in, and it's a real. I love the stadium, man. I mean, it's not huge, but it's cozy, and I think they're, like I said, no track and field. You're right on the field. The stadium itself is pretty good. The game day operation's awesome. I don't know if you got a chance to see it, but RFCLA has a new sponsor. It's Sydney Brewing Company. So there's that Aussie.
I don't
Aussie
know if that's a
connection there.
good thing or a bad thing there, Chad. I don't know if you really want to associate with Australian beer things right
Hey, you know
what
what?
happened last time. After what happened last time.
I'm surprised. Well, oh, I see. I know, man. I never even thought about that.
Yeah, dude, you might want to
Wow.
like kind of ease up on those. On the, I mean, we all know anybody that doesn't know the Giltinis. It was
Yeah,
owned
yeah,
by an Aussie billionaire who has disappeared. For all I know, everybody says he's disappeared, but it
yeah.
didn't really end well. And you got Chad over here talking about, oh, we got Aussie and beer again. Dude, no.
It's so funny. I didn't even connect that, man. That's funny. I didn't think about the Giltinis. Yeah.
Yeah. So I
Adam
mean,
Gilchrist. Yeah.
how did you feel? Like, obviously, a couple of new faces on the team. You didn't obviously end up getting the win, but how did you feel?
Yeah.
Did you feel like the team was better? Did it look better than it did last year, in your opinion?
Way better than last year. And they brought in a couple big players like Christian Dyer. Christian, I can't pronounce his last name, man. Lafano.
Falafano.
Love. Okay, got it, man. Thanks, brother. Brought him in. I mean, he scored a try or two. I know he scored one.
He's
Gonzalo
yeah, he's at
Gonzalo Bertrano
yeah.
was phenomenal, dude.
Dude, the way they butchered his name in the telecast was just sad.
Yeah,
It's like, dude, that's a real guy. Like he's put up over 50 caps for the Pumas. Like you should be able to get his name. So
Yeah, that one's not so hard. It's funny, dude, because he came off the field and I walked over to him. I was like, "Hey, man, great game!" And it's like somebody just like shot him or like shot his family member. He was just like so bummed out. He's like, "No, man, no,
we should have
no."
won that. We should have won
So
that.
competitive, dude. You know.
Yeah.
And it was his lady and his baby were walking around, and everyone, it was good. It was a good family atmosphere, and it was good, talking to the boys after the game and on the pitch, talking to Sam Harris. Yeah, it was good, man. I can't wait. Shout out to my buddy Micah Self. He came with my buddy Ben Bisco. Micah was his first rugby game. And he's starting to get into it. That's the key, man. We just got to get more people coming out to the game. You might not know exactly what's kind of going on, but it kind of organically comes. You know what I mean? And you figure it out after a while.
I think that's the thing about taking anybody, especially in America, to their first rugby game, and we've both done it countless times. I've lost count of how many Americans I've taken to their first rugby game.
Yeah.
And there might be a lot of words coming out of their mouth, but there's two words I've never heard coming out. And take in mind, this was taking people to Jackals games in their first year.
Yeah.
Jackals were absolutely abhorrently bad.
Yes.
Okay. There's two words I never heard come out of their mouth. You know what
Boring
those
and
words?
slow.
This sucks. I never heard this sucks.
Yeah.
And almost everyone, hey, when's the next game? I want to come back
Yeah.
out. Like, and it's like the thing that like I feel like the guys at the top are not getting. Like, you want to sell this, quit trying to attach it to something like the NFL. Like, you're never going to sell this that way.
Right.
You're going to have to convince people, like we already know, it's a pure sport. Like,
right.
It's not flash and glamour. These guys will walk up and talk to you after games. They're not Tom Brady.
Yeah.
They're not. Yeah, they're just
exactly, man.
we're not selling it that way, and we should be.
Yeah, I spoke to Will Hooley a couple weekends ago at the RFCLA San Diego scrimmage, and he
Mhm.
said something interesting. He said rugby is a community game, and so the thing is we don't. I mean, our community we don't have that yet, you know.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, I came from the NFL, right? So from being a huge NFL fan, so for me, I can kind of see relays to relate to it. And so just kind of pointing out things like this is kind of how this is how that is, or just any sports. I just think it's easier to like have kind of a connection. You could still love the NFL or hockey or whatever, but still like the Major League Rugby. But
Yeah, it's. I mean, you look at like the biggest star that's in the game that's American, and it's Alona Mar, and like
right,
they sell her as like, oh, she's this brash chick that can tackle, but then they put her on like Sports Illustrated or like Dancing with the Stars, and that's what I feel like they need to do with rugby. Not put them
yeah,
on, but like show
yeah,
them as like normal people that just
right,
are. You know what I mean? Like
yeah,
like quit trying to make it like it's this larger than life game because if you
yeah,
go to it like that, you're not going to have the right eyes looking at it. You're going to think that these guys are professional athletes and they're getting in their BMWs and driving off to their house in the hills and it's like no, a lot of them are living in two-bedroom apartments and like driving a lease car. It's not,
yeah, absolutely, man. Just the
it's not,
family aspect of it, and
yeah,
the cost to go see a game, and
yeah, it's we could do a whole thing about
for
this.
sure,
Well,
yeah,
I'm sure in the future, but let's get down to the last game. The
okay,
game today, I'd pick Seattle to win. Man, it was 28-0 San Diego at halftime. Ryan James came out and had a fucking field day, man.
yeah,
Bad lineouts. Dewey Kutsia, who had scored 5 tries against Seattle, now plays for Seattle. Dude, the lineouts were terrible by Seattle. They were just bad set
yeah,
piece play. And San Diego, I mean, they moved into a smaller stadium as well, and it looked like a good. It Snapdragon was cool when they could get 10,000, but they weren't getting 10,000 every game.
right.
This one, if they get 3-4,000 every game, it looks full.
I've been
And
to both, and Torero is way better. If I could wave a
it,
magic wand, Torero all day.
why did it just because it felt more intimate, or did it
It's
just look
it's way more intimate. It's at USD's campus, and
okay?
you're right on top of the action compared to being that carnivorous stadium. I mean, don't get me wrong, Snapdragon's great, dude. It's got all the bells and whistles. It's just
Yeah,
too big, man.
yeah.
And
I mean,
one thing I wanted to say, just want to give a shout out to New England, man. With all due respect,
yeah,
no potty, no party, Patras, no game, man. And he went out and he still played. And then also, you were saying about Conradi, I would say, and I told you this, maybe two of the top players in the league, bar
yeah,
none. But
yeah.
they weren't there,
And they
and they
weren't
still
there.
produced.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Even after seeing that, like New England's going to be at the top again. Like I
Yeah,
mean, even not even sending out their top squad, and there were a lot of teams this weekend that didn't send out their top squads.
right.
Like they didn't send out their best teams. Not all of them. I mean, NOLA definitely sent out their best team, and like
Yeah,
they were fucking. But granted, it was against the Anthem.
yeah,
But I mean, yeah, Seattle. Call it a rusty game, call it whatever, but they looked really bad for like 70 minutes. Like they didn't
yeah,
even really look good until the last 10 minutes of the game when they got the well crap, I think they got their first try at the 60th minute and then their last one at like the 71st or 73rd minute. And it was like
yeah,
it was all it was it was 35-0 before Seattle ever even got on the board.
yeah.
So
That was a blowout.
that was a blowout. Yeah, that was a blowout. Seattle looked bad. I mean, Dewey Kutzer looked bad. Pablo Zeiss, Pablo Zeiss, also another former Sabercat and Jackal.
Uh huh.
He's a veteran. He was born in '89, and I hate to say that that's a
Wow.
veteran, but
Yeah,
that's a veteran. '89 is a veteran now, and you could tell. Like it's
yeah,
just it looked like, and the veterans that were on San Diego, they padded them. Like they put younger guys around them so they could still do their thing, but they weren't expected to carry the weight. Like Marcel Brackey was never expected to carry the weight.
right.
Ryan James is young. I think Ryan James is 25, 26 years old. So he can
Yeah,
do
he's
all that. And he's good. And he's hilarious on social media if you don't follow.
Oh, yeah, I ran into him a few times, like, around the stadium and stuff.
Samoan Bow Wow is his handle online.
Is it? Oh,
Because
yeah,
I think he's half black, half Samoan.
that's
So
right. Yep.
and the crowd looked good. The presentation was good. I think the thing I
Crowd
remember the most about Torero Stadium before they moved into Snapdragon was how windy it is, and it was definitely windy. You could tell that there was
Oh,
some decent wind at the game.
uh-huh.
But round one over, you're definitely more like the pro MLR guy. For me, there were some downright unwatchable moments this weekend. I mean, take in mind,
Yeah,
I watched URC, I watched Super Rugby, and I watched this. And it's like when you hold it to those, yeah, it's unwatchable at times. But
yeah,
at the same time, the crowd that probably made me the happiest was the Miami crowd. That
yeah,
was a
that's good.
good crowd. Like, and you
Yeah,
do not expect that there. And it was a good crowd. Like I was happy
yeah.
for that. Like, damn, we need to see more of that, obviously. NOLA looked pretty
Yeah.
vacant. Houston looked good, but they also play in a very small stadium.
Yeah.
And you said you felt like the turnout was decent
It
at
was
L.
decent, but I mean, I think, like, just rugby itself is, like a lot of sports, it's struggling everywhere, to try to fill seats, and that's just a global sporting phenomenon. I mean, maybe in the Premier League, you may get some situations, but, yeah, I just think all of everybody with the thing with MLR is it's like a one entity league where everybody works together, like the owners are working together to try and help each other out. And I think that's great. I mean, rugby itself, all over, everyone's talking about how it's just tough trying to get more people out.
Yeah,
I'm
definitely
not making
more.
an excuse. We just have to bring people out and get them more introduced to it.
Yeah.
So
Well, you know what, man? We'll be back here next week. We're going to continue doing this because I like having these chats with you. And you had mentioned, hey, man, I like the fact that you're able to talk about this again. And I mean,
yes,
like I said, it wasn't an issue of, I just, for everybody that knows, I had a falling out. I didn't
yes,
want anything to do with the league. Now that that's all gone, I don't mind talking about it, but I'm also doing this with him because he's more of the posy guy, and I'm the guy that's like, bringing up the negative things. Like, I got to bring this up before the show's over.
yes.
It happened at your game.
What happened?
It was fucking amateur hour. Yellow card. Oh, I'm sorry. Wrong card. That was fucking amateur hour, man. That official that said yellow card and holds up a red. I'm wrong card. Like, come on, dude. Like, you're a referee. You should know what card you're reaching.
I don't know, but you think about it, like,
What a fucking clown, dude. Like, I thought that was like I'm like, what a fucking amateur, man. Like,
right?
come on,
No,
Major
I
League
get it.
Rugby.
Yeah.
Like, if you're gonna try and be a professional competition, don't that guy should never be allowed to officiate. That was embarrassing, man. Like, that was
Dude,
he
my
holds up the
standards
red.
My standards are abhorrently low with Major League Rugby. I mean, it's just like a kid that can't do wrong. I love it. If it happens, it happens. I'm just blessed to be able to go out and see the games.
Yeah.
I don't I don't over like analyze it and stuff like that. But you're right. I mean, he should have got it wrong. He made a mistake. We all make mistakes.
Yeah, there were some issues too, like the Seattle game. You could not hear the referee.
Okay.
You couldn't hear the TMO. I know I believe it was the NOLA game and
Uh-huh.
Anthem. The official who I think he was the guy that we met whenever I came to the game at LA. The
Okay.
black guy. That
Oh, Marquise.
Yeah, he was
Yeah.
the head official. He was the ref for that game.
Okay. Yeah.
And he couldn't hear the TMO, and he kept having to tell the TMO, like, "I can't understand you. Say it again." And I mean, he'd be doing it. He did it for like 2 minutes straight, and it was like, "You guys need to get your shit together. Come on, guys.
Yeah.
Like, this is supposed to be." Oh, one last thing. Well,
Yes.
love on it, but one last thing. I had made the complaint about it going behind a paywall.
Yes.
Okay, so what I found out today is that
Yeah.
it is behind a paywall in the U.S. and Canada only. Outside of the US and Canada, you can still catch the games on the Rugby Network
Live.
live.
Okay, good.
So for anybody that's in the US that maybe doesn't want to pay for that, he's not going to like what I'm going to tell you. Get a VPN and just set your VPN for outside of US or Canada, and you can watch live on the Rugby Network. You can't
That's
really
true.
do it. You can't do it on an Android television though, because it doesn't work like that. But
Yeah. Or
I
you could also not be a cheap bastard and try to pay money to help grow the game, go take people out, pay money to watch the game and watch it, get a little bit better. Because when the NFL started in the 1930s, they weren't talking about trying to hack feeds, bro. You got to pay a little bit. You got to grow the game. You got to give back a little bit.
Yeah, I kind of still think that's a giant misstep by the MLR. They shouldn't have gone behind a paywall this quickly. But I get it. They need to generate revenue somehow.
Yeah.
And it's hopefully, although, I mean, I don't know when we'll get the numbers for it or anything. I'm pretty sure it'll be, fairly down the line when we find out. Because, I mean, we found out pretty quickly with the Rugby Network. Like, it blew up. They had, like, over 500,000 subscribers in,
that's
6
good.
weeks.
That's great, man. I did not know that.
Yeah. That was that first year that they came out because I met Commissioner Killebrew, and he told me they had over 600,000 subscriptions.
Oh, that's great, man.
Of 600,000, I think like 150,000 were US. The rest of them were around the world because when you live overseas, everything's behind a paywall. So like they were like, oh, it's free. I'll watch it free then, And,
right.
So it's still free for people overseas. For a lot of these guys whose parents are overseas, they can still watch it for free, which matters to me. So
and thank you for doing this, man. Thank you for all the stuff, all the love you're giving to MLR, brother. I really appreciate it, man. We could use it.
Yeah, there's not enough people talking about it, and I could either be part of. And I mean, I'm going to be critical, because I'm going to be, but like
I need you to be critical. That's how we're only going to grow.
Yeah, having you on here, it helps. So
you too.
We'll be back next week with picks, round 2, and then we'll do hopefully a post game. And man, is RFC LA still at home next week? Or are they on the road?
Yeah, against Houston.
They're on the road or at home?
No, we're at home. Sunday.
That's going to be a game that both teams need to bounce back.
Yes.
I mean, I don't feel like RFC LA really needs to bounce back. They just need to close a few things. Houston's got a lot to prove. So
yeah, our finishing power was terrible.
Yeah, well, Houston didn't even have a starting power. So.
Okay.
But, we'll be back next week, guys.
Are you going to take that? One last thing. Who are you going to take next week, Houston or RFC LA right now?
Oh, fuck. After what I witnessed, man, probably RFC LA. But I'm going to wait until the lineups get announced. If they, I will say this. If they start AJ Alatimu at 10, you guys are cooked. You guys are cooked. Because that guy is fucking good.
He's good, man. And he's got a good boot, too.
He was good in Houston. Yeah, so we'll see how that goes.
Man.
All right, man. Cheers.
Good, brother.